may be having 3 lives today. What a Friday, folks. I'm going to unload the dishwasher first, but before that, I'm going to drink some water. I feel severely dehydrated for all the salt that I ate. I am feeling pretty manic. How'd you guess? Dishwasher first. My conclusion is, it's pretty clean, folks. The tablets worked really nicely. Unfortunately, I need to do a better job of stacking these things. Some of them are not dried because I did not stack them well. Skills will come with time. I forgive myself for now. It looks like the jar that had my tea and matcha did not really work out too well. The stains are still in there, so there are limitations to a dishwasher sometimes, but not too bad. Came off with a wipe. Otherwise, everything looks pretty clean, smells pretty fresh. The soap is unscented, so shouldn't smell too pretty. Now we have all these lids, and who knows if we lost any again. I washed some plastic utensils just to see if they would melt. It looks like they did not melt. So, hello. And I did wash some chopsticks just to show you what kind of damage would be done to the wood. I don't know if you can see with this glare, but there is some kind of bloating happening underneath the wood. It looks like it got under the varnish. So I use more glass to store my leftovers for sure. Do I have a favorite holiday sweet? I really like shortbreads and crumbly cookies. But I love cheesecake all year round, just like Mom. Run the dishwasher with vinegar after the regular run. Might not be water-wise, but dishes end up squeaky clean. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Thanks. Might be TMI for many of you. I don't know what everyone's comfort level is regarding women's health, but earlier I bought myself a large slab of liver. I did proceed to eat all of it, and I was like, I wonder why I have this sudden craving for liver. It turns out, I gained 10 pounds in 10 days of staying home and I guess doing nothing and eating too much during my COVID. And combined with the stress of going through COVID and the weight gain, my period came a week early. So I am on my cycle now, way ahead of schedule, which kind of makes sense why I crave liver, which is very high in blood and iron. So I guess that was my body's way of telling me that, like, yo, replenish. Yeah, I'm trying not to let the weight gain get to me too much. I know it's just part of the process, but I am a little worried about the suddenness of the weight gain. I worry that it portends other bad health things that might be happening behind in the background, because normally what happens is I tend to gain weight in the winter because of depression, and I tend to gain weight when I'm stressed. So when I go through winter, I put on some weight because of the combination of it being sucky outside, it being sucky inside in my mind. But that process usually takes like a month. That it happened in 10 days is kind of scary. So yeah, I also hope it's not due to kidney, because I do have a history of kidney conditions, and I'll keep an eye on it, but it's a little worrying, but there is also no point to worrying. So yeah, I did. The weight has been checked throughout the day. It's a fluctuation of 10 pounds. I know, give and take, your weight can fluctuate like up to 3 to 5 pounds, but from 10 days ago before COVID, it's an average of 10 pounds gained. So whatever. We're gonna keep on living until I die. Right now I'm feeling a lot of strain in my abdomen area, like not in the front of my abs, but like in the sides where my kidneys are. So that's worrying me, because that usually portends bad things. You know what? You're actually right. I do have some urine analysis test strips. I should probably test my urine to just see if anything's funky going on with my kidneys. That's a great idea. Just in case the worst has happened, which is COVID triggering my nephropathy, which I haven't had since puberty. So That would be the absolute worst case scenario for me, y'all. That would change my entire life. Not exaggerating. Okay, but for now, let's just carry on as if nothing is wrong and I'm definitely not dying. I have two things on the agenda for right now. The first being that I was chatting with Ram and he was showing me this dessert called black cake, and it's made with dried fruit soaked in rum and then pureed into a mash. And then I was like, I don't have rum, but I do have Baileys, and I have a shit ton of dried figs. And I was like, what if I soaked dried figs in Baileys? And then, days later, we make fig Newtons out of that. So, the lens needs to be cleaned. Guys, I think my lens is just really awful. I'm really sorry. Here, let me clean it. This is a microfiber cloth, okay? I'm cleaning it. Does it do anything? Maybe? A little bit? I'm doing my best, okay? It's a really shitty Pixel 4a. It's a really shitty connection. Anyway, potatoes. So, we're gonna cut up some dried figs, quarter them up, cut out the little tough stem, and soak them. I can smell the difference in the boards. It really highlights the pixelation. You guys are funny. You're funny. Oh, wait, no, sorry. Before we do the figs, I would like to hydrate some flour and water together so that it can auto-lease for our sourdough, which I will use the starter that is climbing. So, I'm not going to be doing much measuring aside from putting a scale underneath the bowl. And let's see what flours we would like to use. Okay, I have some white whole wheat. Cool, we have that. Yes, we have a lot of poppy seeds. Poppy seed bread sounds good. Okay, some oat flour, freshly ground, and we definitely need some all-purpose in there. I have some buckwheat, but I don't think I want to do that. So, okay. Yes, let's do this. I think the last bread dough I made was around 300 grams of flour total. Most of it was rye. So here we're going to do 240 grams of white whole wheat flour from King Arthur, and I'll go in with 50 grams of home ground wheat, and 100 grams of all-purpose. I'll leave this out to feed my starter later. And what's in here? Oh, I think this is kinako. Oops. Didn't food you, sorry. Okay, that's in. Yeah. So, millet. Let's finish out Mom's millet. And let's do some poppy seed. Flaxseed. I like those. I'm also going to add some water now. So this is a grand total of 390 grams of flour. 390 grams of flour. I'm going to go in with between 320 and 340 grams of water, maybe? I don't know what the math on that is, actually, but... Wow, that was perfect. 332 grams of water. Quick, somebody do math. What's 332 divided by 390? Somebody's got a calculator, right? 24. 8. Okay, so this is 85% hydration, which is pretty high hydration. And I'm going to go ahead and soak our additions as well in some water. And that will fluctuate the hydration a little bit too. So 85% hydration is pretty good. I like that. Thank you for math. Make it 1-to-1. 100% hydration bread is extremely hard. It can be very tough to work with. So that's that. So normally I will cover this and let it rest for 1 to 2 hours. And then I add in starter, any additions, and salt. Salt is very important. I really like using King Arthur flour because their protein content is quite high. Protein content will lead to more gluten development. The same all-purpose flour from different brands will give you different protein content. King Arthur usually hovers around 13%, I think, but they do say it on their packaging, usually in the upper right-hand corner, how much protein content is in there. And that will affect how sturdy your bread turns out in the end. Protein content will affect the gluten development, and gluten is what strengthens the elasticity in your bread. So. We'll go ahead and cover this with our cutting board, maybe? Perfect. And I'll set myself a little timer for an hour. Then I'm going to go ahead and soak some seeds. I will just eyeball the seeds. I wonder what else I want in this bread. Anything? Oh my gosh, imagine if I put marshmallow in this bread. Marshmallow bread. That sounds a little whack, honestly. But I want a little white sesame maybe. That sounds good. I had black sesame last time. It was fine. Okay, maybe nothing else. Maybe just these. That will be enough. Seven grams of sesame. 8 grams of poppy, 26 grams of mom's millet that we are going to finish out tonight. Thanks, Mom. And 10 grams of flax. Perfect. For a total of 51 grams. And 42 grams of water. I don't know why, but that's what I'm doing. And while we're here, I'm actually going to add the salt in too, because I have made bread before, having forgotten salt. It's never pretty. I usually do about 10 grams of salt for a batch of bread this big. Let it hydrate. Cool. On to figs. Are we all here? Is everyone still paying attention? I can't see chat. I don't know why. I don't add vital wheat gluten. Apparently it triggers a lot more gluten sensitivities. Hi, Australia. Yeah, there's a huge debate regarding vital wheat gluten and how it's used in like a lot of commercial applications, and how that's kind of why people have gluten sensitivities more and more nowadays, because we actually don't just stick with the natural gluten content in wheat. We actually supplement our especially commercially produced breads with even more gluten. And you know, when you have too much of something, it's really never great. So there is a school of thinking that if you just stick with naturally occurring amounts of gluten, you wouldn't be having this kind of almost epidemic of gluten sensitivities developing. I used to have a chef who used to yell at me because I would do the same steps over and over again. Alternatively, like right now I'm pinching off the stem stub and then cutting the fig. And she would always tell me never do the same thing more than once. And she says to become efficient in things, you should, for example, tear off all of the stems and then cut all of the figs, so that you're only doing the action once for the entire batch. Now, I understand in a capitalistic framework where they are forcing restaurant workers to work as hard as they can so that they don't pay them overtime, that makes sense. And yes, I guess it is supposed to be more efficient, but like sometimes if you can afford to slow down, maybe you should fucking slow down. Hi, Taiwan. When I worked in restaurants, they would basically cram 10 to 12 hours of work in your 8 hours. Make sure that you don't clock overtime, and make sure that you don't work without clocking in, which really made our lives quite miserable, because at a certain point, you can only do so many things in so much time. But the whole culture of restaurant work is go fucking go. And that's just one aspect in which it is systemically toxic. The whole game of ego that is inherent in being a chef at a restaurant, in competing for awards and stars, and, you know, maintaining a certain clientele and maintaining a certain reputation, that leads to a lot of ego and self-imposed pressure that is totally not essential to existing. And that makes people on edge. And on edge people, when they don't know how to process their own feelings, will take it out on other people. Guess who those people tend to be? Really underpaid workers who are already being pushed to their limits. That's the other toxic part about working in restaurants. Yay, capitalism! Woo! All these things that we've been taught to prioritize. Woo! All these things that we've been taught to prioritize and value. Like working faster, working value. Like working faster, working harder, working better, working smarter. Guess who they're working out for? Not us. Not us. It just breaks us over time. Like, I have a permanent bladder issue now from holding in pee from my 4.5 years of working in restaurants. Where does this stuff occur? Most of this stuff occurs before business hours. And most kitchens that operate with an open kitchen format also have a back kitchen. The back kitchen is the prep kitchen. The prep kitchen is usually in the basement. A lot of shit goes on. Even if you have an open kitchen, you can sometimes see shit go down. And then you have the back kitchen, where I was once relegated to the back kitchen because I forgot to check up on the arugula stock, which was complete shit. Like, half of the bag could not be used. The chef was really mad that I didn't do that arugula check before service began. And instead of sending me out to buy new arugula, she decided to punish me by sending me downstairs to the back kitchen, where I stood for the next 2 hours picking through that trash arugula. Which was really just punishment because it was not worth paying me for those hours to pick through a bag of rotten arugula. There was not much to be salvaged from that bag of rotten arugula. We would have been way better off if she just said, okay, you made a mistake, run out and get arugula. But no, you must make me feel like shit. For $10 an hour, and not an hour more. It's cool. Did I make a mistake? Yeah. Was I dumb? Kinda. Was I learning? Mm-hmm. Did I have a positive learning experience? No way, Jose. No fucking way, Jose. That was not a very positive learning experience. Thank goodness Rams bought me another bottle. That chef is one of more well-known chefs in the city right now. Her face is plastered all over in downtown on a poster somewhere. Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Mm-hmm. Good God, that smells good. This says best before January 2023, and this is best before September 2021. I'm guessing this is the bottle that Ram gave me when my mom passed away last year. Yo, is this glass or plastic? It's like heavy duty shit. I guess it's plastic. Wow. Holy man. The restaurant that I worked at where that happened is no longer in business, so. The restaurant game in New York City is brutal. Okay, into that, I'm going to dump a little bit of vanilla. It's kind of fake vanilla. Don't tell anyone. I don't know what red dates are, like Chinese jujubes. You can probably cook them in wine. Just know that the skins are kind of plasticky. You guys ever get disappointed that life just hits you like way too hard, way too fast sometimes? And you were like, I am mentally prepared to get fucked, but like not this fast. Like slow down a little bit. But it doesn't wait for you sometimes. It's like a very toxic relationship. It's not that everything is about sex when you're older. It's just that all the dynamics that can happen during sex is so applicable to everything else that happens in life when you're older. You're like, yeah, that is the perfect metaphor. And you know why? I think it's because sex is one of those things where you like don't always have full control over, because not only does it involve two people normally, I mean, you can masturbate, I guess that counts as sex to some people, but there's an element of like your hormones controlling your libido, and that is both within you and not you. So the element of lack of control is so applicable to everything else in life. That it takes communication constantly, and that communication is somehow always lacking in most scenarios, is also very applicable, because language can only go so far, and we don't have enough self-knowledge to actually be able to put what we want and need into words. That is, I think, very applicable to other parts of life as well. That we always have a fantasy of what sex should be like and feel like, and how a lot of the times the result doesn't happen to match up to our fantasy. And the disappointment that results is found in so many other cases and instances of life. How we come to deal with repeated instances of failings, both our own failings and other people's failings, is a pattern that I see repeated in other areas of life. And sometimes you get rewarded and it turns out well. And sometimes the whole journey is pleasant and enjoyable, but sometimes it's thoroughly shit. Very unpredictable results and journeys. And sometimes you have to work really hard for a very long time for something that doesn't really seem worth it in the end. And I don't know, I just feel like these dynamics are found in sexual relationships and in general life scenarios. I just find them to be very parallelable. Is that a word? It is now. Parallelable. Bam, bitches. I'm a Shakespeare. Cool. That's it. That's basically all I have for you today. I will be adding some sourdough starter into the bread after an hour of sitting in there. And I will go ahead and mix this seed mixer up a little bit. I think it needs a little bit of combination. Now, I can either read to you and have the viewership drop from 190 to like 120, or we can end the live and you go on living your merry lives. But I did have 3 lives today, y'all. Like, damn. We really went there today. It's whatever you want to do, but is it? Yeah, Ram is trying to brainstorm how to monetize these lives more because they pull in like $20 max. But I have my eyes set on 2 pairs of Birkenstock boots, and one of them is $350. So that's gonna take a lot of lives for me to earn my boot money. Gelatinous. Tell you more about sex. What do you want to hear about sex? We can talk more about sex. As an asexual person, I love to talk about sex, mainly because it is so strange and foreign to me. But I can't just talk about sex. You gotta give me a direction. Why don't you turn on the donate button in the live chat? Oh, I've gone through this before, because when you turn on super chats, Google/YouTube takes away 30%. And I don't want your money going to Google. If you actually do want to give me money, you can just Venmo me. My Venmo is the same as my Instagram handle. And that money will go directly to me. What foods are sex? All foods are sex. Duh. What's asexual? Ooh, girl. Asexual is a spectrum that includes people who do not experience sexual attraction to varying degrees. It's all a spectrum. What is my individual view of sex? I don't know. It's developing. That's a huge topic. 30%. Yeah, 30% goes to Google. We know Google doesn't need that money. Have you ever wanted to have sex with someone, but they didn't feel the same? I don't think I've communicated that and gotten rejected, because I very rarely feel sexual attraction to the point where I'm like, let's have sex. Some foods are bad sex, indeed. Do you ever wonder whether you're critical enough of your own thoughts? Self-critical, that is. Yes. That's the short answer. What fast food is sex? Again, there's many different kinds of sex and there's many different kinds of food, and they can all be drawn parallel to each other depending on what kind of sex you're talking about. Okay? It's amazing how people are so willing to ask such personal questions. I mean, I'm opening the floor up and I'm responding to them, so I guess it's my fault. Controversial opinion. Freddie says orgasms are overrated as a goal. I agree. Not controversial to me at all. Not at all. How did you find out you're asexual? In college, I didn't really get it when other people were like talking about wanting to jump each other's bones. I was like, really? And then all of my fantasies about my crushes were just like hugging them. And even the fantasies that involved kissing were like not tongue kissing. They were just like touching lips. What was in the sourdough starter? I didn't make that on camera. It's just like 8 grams of my rye starter from the last batch of bread making, plus all-purpose flour and water. Have you always felt this way, or is this new? I've felt this way since college. And I will say it has evolved. I have discovered different aspects of my asexuality. I used to be asexual, now I'm demisexual, so I would say I'm more open to experiencing sexual attraction. But again, the asexual spectrum includes different variations of attraction. So not everyone who's asexual experiences asexuality the same. Fellow ace, holler. I'm just going to pick a random Zizek. Okay, yes. The people on the street love to honk. I don't know why. I'm going to try to find a passage where I see the word sex, but it might not happen. But I hope it does. I feel like Zizek doesn't shy away from talking about anything. What's it like dating as an ace? Very difficult. Random Zizek is like wet water. That sounds sexy. Okay, this is chapter 3. I'm going to start from the beginning of chapter 3 on page 59 of The Puppet and the Dwarf. The perverse core of Christianity. Get ready for Zizek. Without the spit. Oh, we already lost 10 people. Wow. Okay. The Fort Da story from Freud's Beyond the Pleasure Principle can perhaps serve as the best test to detect the level of understanding of Freud. According to the standard version, Freud's grandson symbolizes the departure and return of his mother by throwing away a spool, fort, and retrieving it, da. The situation thus seems clear. Traumatized by the mother's absence, the child overcomes his anxiety and gains mastery over the situation by symbolizing it. Through the substitution of the spool for the mother, he himself becomes the stage director of her appearance and disappearance. Anxiety is thus successfully sublated in the joyful assertion of mastery. However, are things really so clear? Yeah, I will do whatever the hell I want. Who cares about the algorithm? Fuck it. However, are things really so clear? What if the spool is not a stand-in for the mother, but a stand-in for what Jacques Lacan called objet petit a? ultimately the object in me, that which my mother sees in me, that which makes me the object of her desire. What if Freud's grandson is staging his own disappearance and return? In this precise sense, the spool is what Lacan called a biceptor. It properly belongs neither to the child nor to his mother. It is in between the two, the excluded intersection of the two sets. Take Lacan's famous, I love you, but there's something in you more than yourself that I love, objet petit a, so I destroy you. The elementary formula of the destruction passion for the real as the endeavor to extract from you the real kernel of your being. Wow. Okay, so do we need an analysis? Lacan's famous I love you, but there is something in you more than yourself that I love, so I destroy you. So it's kind of like yes, my memo is exactly what Jonathan said. It's thank 9 stars, and it should be a picture of mini me going meh. So basically, he's saying Lacan's idea of I love you, but there's something in you more than yourself that I love, so I destroy you, is like you have a walnut that is still in its shell. And you're like, I love this shelled walnut still intact, but there is something inside you that I love more than what I see now. And therefore, I will need to crack you open and destroy you so that I can get at the kernel of you. In order to eat the essence of you, I must go through you and destroy what I already can see and grasp. And I think before I read any further, my own takeaway interpretation is when I have a crush on someone, become infatuated with them, I am already like projecting an entire personhood onto that new person who I've just met. And I'm like, he is the one. Like, he's so smart and sexy and understanding, and he's great at communication. But that was before he ghosted me. But at that point, I didn't know he would ghost me. And I did not know that there was a component of him that could ghost me and therefore betray my trust in his, what I feel like is his steadfast communication. So before he has betrayed me, I am infatuated with him. I project onto him this thing within him that I think I love. And so, in a way, by projecting onto him an essence that might not actually be him, I am already subjecting my crush to a violence of sorts. Because I am breaking who he is in order to paint him as someone else. But anyway, let me continue what Zizek actually says, because I was just bullshitting just now. English major. This is what gives rise to anxiety in the encounter with the other's desire. What the other is aiming at is not simply myself, but the real kernel, that which is in me more than myself. And he is ready to destroy me in order to extract that kernel. Is not the ultimate cinematic expression of the extimate character of the objet petit a in me that of the alien in the film of the same name, which is quite literally what is in me more than myself? He's referring to the Alien films, you know, that famous scene where the alien busts out of her abdomen. Obviously, the alien is within her, but the alien is not her. A foreign body at the very heart of myself, and can therefore be extracted from me only at the price of my destruction. Consequently, we should invert the standard constellation. The true problem is the mother who enjoys me, her child, and the true stake of the game is to escape this closure. The true anxiety is this being caught in the other's jouissance. It is not that, anxious about losing my mother, I try to master her departure and arrival. It is that, anxious about her overwhelming presence, I try desperately to carve out a space where I can gain a distance toward her, and so become able to sustain my desire. So again, from two sides of interpretation, from the Freudian sense, totally regarding this mother-child dynamic, like applying it to my own life. I always thought my mother suffocated me too much with her love, and therefore her suffocation and overwhelming amount of love made me ironically love her less because I needed to get away from that. And so in order to love her, I needed distance from her, which is why when my mom said, hey, come over and stay with me for a week, I said, no, I'm going to drive you crazy and you're going to drive me crazy and we're going to fight on day 2. So in order to continue having a connection with my mother, I had to be disconnected with her. If we apply this Freudian dynamic to me and my crush, it's like I desire him so much that I text him constantly, and because I'm texting him too much and it becomes overwhelming, he probably will respond less, which to my own detriment, my exertion of effort, attention, affection, love, hopes, dreams, desire, whatever, has basically repelled him instead of attracting him, which is why people, I think, tend to fall into this rhythm of playing a cat and mouse game of like, well, I want to text you, but I'm not going to text you because then you're going to think I'm crazy and then you're going to drop me. And so always constantly navigating this communication gap of like, how do I express the fact that I desire you without scaring you, right? That's a lot of what is contained within our ghosting culture, I think. Trying to find the balance, not knowing where it lies, and then just disappearing. So, thus, we obtain a completely different picture. Instead of the child mastering the game and thus coping with the trauma of his mother's absence, we get the child trying to escape the suffocating embrace of his mother and construct an open space for desire. Instead of the playful exchange of fort and da, we get a desperate oscillation between the two poles, neither of which brings satisfaction. Or, as Kafka wrote, I cannot live with you, and I cannot live without you. And it is this most elementary dimension of the fort da game that is missed in the cognitivist science of the mind. A recent cognitivist textbook tells us, if someone were to claim that for the sake of his desire for an object, he moved away from this object, then we would surmise that he is either a madman or he does not know the meaning of the term desire. Is not such an avoiding of the object for the sake of our very desire for it, however, the very paradox of courtly love? Is it not a feature of desire as such, at its most fundamental? So perhaps we psychoanalysts are a species of madmen. That is to say, is not such an avoiding of the object for the sake of our very desire for it, such a persisting fort in the very heart of da, the very paradox of desire as such at its most fundamental? What about the eternal deferral of finally meeting the distant beloved? Oh man, we lost 30 people. Do we want an analysis of that too? Should I do a breakdown? He's basically quoting a textbook that is saying the same thought in different words. It's crazy that we would love something and yet distance ourselves from it in order to keep the love alive. Like, oh my gosh, somebody donated to my Birkenstock fund. Thank you. And it's like, okay, I have a crush on this guy. I feel like I love him so fucking much. But because I'm scared of losing him by texting him too much, I have to refrain myself and stay away from texting him too much. I, by the way, don't succeed at this personally. I don't refrain from texting people too much. And I think in my brain, if they don't like the way I communicate, then it ultimately just won't work out. because this ultimately is who I am. And from my point of view, it is better to show who I am and be upfront and honest about it, than to check myself and limit myself in order to kind of persist in presenting this self that is not really myself. But here, he is describing what most of us have chosen to do in this day and age. We restrain ourselves in order not to intimidate the other, and we try to normalize our own feelings so that we don't come across as insane. But I am insane in a lot of senses. And so, I don't know, maybe there's someone out there who likes insanity. That's my hope and dream. In the same cognitivist vein, Douglas Lenat tries to construct a computer that would possess human common sense, filling its memory with millions of obvious rules like nothing can be in two places at once. When humans die, they are not born again. Dying is undesirable. Animals do not like pain. Time advances at the same rate for everyone. When it rains, people get wet. Sweet things taste good. However, are these rules really so obvious? What about the same thought shared by two people? What about people who believe in reincarnation? What about desperate people who long to die? What about masochists who like pain? What about our thrilling experiences when time seems to run faster than usual? What about people with umbrellas who do not get wet? What about those among us who prefer dark, bitter chocolate to sweet chocolate? Yeah, insanity is a spectrum. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how insane am I? I don't know. I think I'm like a 6.9. It is against this background that one should conceptualize the difference of desire of the other and jouissance of the other. This difference is often described as the threshold of symbolic castration. While desire of the other can only thrive insofar as the other remains an undecipherable abyss, the other's jouissance indicates its suffocating over proximity. Here we should recall the two meanings of the French jouir, enjoy plus the right to enjoy something, even if one does not own it. The so-called usufruct, I don't know how to pronounce that word. For example, when the owner of a big house leaves the house to his children, but gives his faithful old servant the right to stay in his apartment in the house rent-free until his death, the servant is free to enjoy his apartment. The other's enjoyment is thus its right to enjoy me as a sexual object. Oh my god, I did pick a passage with sex in it. Good me. Okay, this is what is at stake in what Lacan reconstructs as the Kantian imperative of the work of de Sade. Anyone can tell me I have the full right to enjoy any part of your body in any way that brings pleasure to me. Although this seems to be a feminine position, women as the usufruct of men, this other is ultimately a pre-Oedipal mother. This is why Lacan draws attention to the fact that in de Sade's universe, with all its perversity, the mother remains prohibited. Through symbolic castration, this overwhelming jouissance of the mother, he spells it M in parentheses, other, is then sublated in the precise Hegelian sense of Aufbung. I have no idea what we're talking about anymore, but let me finish the paragraph. Into the localized phallic jouissance that precisely is jouissance under the condition of desire, that is, as it appears after symbolic castration. When Lacan speaks of phallic jouissance, we should always bear in mind that the phallus is a signifier of castration. Phallic jouissance is therefore jouissance under the condition of symbolic castration that opens up and sustains the space of desire. Woo! I lost myself. I'm not just losing you. I lost 50 people and myself. Okay. So first we're delineating desire of the other and jouissance of the other. And I think this needs like some kind of knowledge of Lacan, because jouissance, I think, is French for joy, enjoyment, aka orgasm. You're definitely not ADHDing. I'm very lost. Okay? So yeah, what is that French term? Who wants to define a jouissance for us? You know, Lachon. Chat is going absolutely bonkers right now. I think during our evolution of the COVID live streams, our live stream culture has changed with my manic levels. This guy was lit when he wrote this. Yeah, jouissance is spelled Jouissance. Everybody's confused. Okay, so Jenny is asking, what's up with the mother? I think this is actually quite important because there's something very like postmodern about the fact that you are closest with your mother being her child, but she is eternally other from you. Like you will never get close to her. She is so foreign to you, even as she is so close to you. And that is like the push-pull of postmodernism of like, how is it possible that she's my fucking mother and I still can't get through to her and communicate with her? Like, why do we just keep misunderstanding each other? Why do we keep fighting? Why can't we just get along? How is it that I'm your child, but like you treat me like I'm an alien, right? My mom always thought I was so weird and strange. She never, ever, ever really thought like my fashion sense was great, that I made all these weird career choices, that like I just chose all the wrong things, chose all the wrong people. So he's saying that the difference between desire of the other and jouissance of the other is symbolic castration. So now we have to figure out what symbolic castration means. I feel like sometimes with philosophy, if you don't understand something, you just have to keep reading. I am so lost and I cannot find my shoes. Wait, Diana, I just have to ask, how old are you? Because I feel like you're my age or younger. Am I right? You don't have to tell me the exact age, but I'm curious to have this level of sense of humor and wit, the age range that you are in. I do love Kierkegaard. He is so cute. He's so cute. I will say something. In reading about this, in like returning to these Freudian concepts, the fact that we have so much commonality of, oh, you're 65. Wow. Well, I adore your sense of humor, and I can't wait to be your level of witty at 65. But, and thank you for sharing. But I will say, like, after my mom's death, all of a sudden, when I was listening to music, all these love songs, like, before mom's death, all these love songs that seemed very romantically oriented, like all the John Mayer songs. Not Your Body is a Wonderland, but like a lot of heartbreak songs and breakup songs, it sounded like the lyrics fit. Evelyn, everyone gets extra credit. The system means nothing. A lot of the lyrics fit my feelings towards mom and losing her. And I was like, whoa, this is kind of fucked. Like, is this kind of incestuous, the way that I'm feeling this longing and loss of my mom? And like, is this approximating a sort of sexual desire? And I've been thinking about this a lot. And I know that like incest is so taboo, but again, it happens in a lot of literature. And there's a reason for it. And it's that we have, at least in English, just one word, love, to cover all of these intricate feelings and emotions tied to relationships. And so linguistically, at least in the English language, it is difficult to separate all the different strains of love. And so it does things to the brain to frame our world linguistically with limited vocabulary. But I mean, I think why Freud's theories have persisted so long is that these kind of like incestuous feelings, thoughts, and ties are actually pretty common. We just realize it as taboo and not right, so we tend to not talk about it and not analyze it. And Freud was like very scandalous until he turned into a joke, right? Like we joke about Freud now, and we disregard it as like garbage. But he founded a lot of psychology when it began. So we can't really just discard that history of evolution of our mind. But the way that we consider lovers and the way that it parallels our relationship with our parents, I mean, I'm not saying we all want to fuck our parents, but I am just saying like our first concepts and learning of what relationships are, romantic or not, probably came from watching our parents and their relationships and dynamics. So I'm thinking about it, okay? Anyway, let's see what makes sense and I can read it out loud. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep getting lost. I think I'm very close to understanding that paragraph, or at least like 1/5 of it. So basically, there's a desire for the other, and then enjoyment by the other of you. And somewhere along there, we have a symbolic castration. And it is symbolic castration because the mother is trying to love you too much and enjoy you too much through her jouissance of your existence. And you are scared of that enjoyment by the mother, so you pull back. And so that, I think, is part of that symbolic castration. You are withdrawing your ability to enjoy that relationship because you are scared of it. But it is through this castration and the inability to fully actualize and consummate that love that actually sustains the space of desire. So again, it's like, you know your mother loves you, however, she loves you too much, and in order to maintain a loving relationship with her, you must castrate yourself, so to speak, and pull away from this relationship. And in pulling away and disengaging, you are maintaining paradoxically that connection. I think we're thinking too hard about symbolic castration as a literal cutting off of the penis. It's not. Castration in this case, and like The phallus in this case is standing in for the ability to love and the ability to engage in love. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical love in terms of sex. It can be very much a psychological love in terms of its potency, right? The phallus is just seen as the symbol of power and agency. Yes, we can bring the floating opera back. Do you want the floating opera back? He's not trying to be an intellectual Marquis de Sade. I think he's just mentioning de Sade's different works because de Sade's work has so much perverse sexual elements in it. Oh, but I underlined this 10 years ago. So maybe let me just read what I underlined so we can see what 2010 June wrote. I don't think I read a lot of Anais Nin, but I think I did try to read some of her work, but I don't think I got into that. The function of the paternal metaphor is to submit to the desire of the mother, to the law of the father. Okay. There are two ways of dealing with the excess of the real, the terrifying abyss of what is in the image beyond the image. Either one confronts it directly or one mediates it through the symbolic order. Here, however, he takes the problematic step of identifying the real with the open horizon of meaning, with the elusive, unspeakable kernel of the potentiality of meaning, with the true focus of what we want to say that can never be fully explicated. The real is the dimension of das Ding, of what is in the other more than the other. It is this dimension that is unassimilatable in the image, and is implicitly animated in every registration of the signifier, in the overflow of meaning by virtue of which every utterance says more than it means to say. You ever get into those really frustrating tiffs with someone that you love, and you get so frustrated that you can't find words for what you want to say because what you really want to say are just a bundle of emotions that drags up so much history of troublesome dynamics from the past that you can't really package it neatly because it is just so much, and it strikes at the heart of an insecurity that you've had for potentially years or decades. And in trying to express it to someone that you love, you also see within that inability to express it this heartbreaking scenario where the person that you love doesn't actually know you, doesn't actually understand you, and isn't capable of understanding you the way you understand yourself. And furthermore, what's really hurtful is that you wish they could understand you more than you understand yourself, because you wish somebody could save you from yourself. But you see in that moment that in your confusion and their reciprocating confusion, that they are unable to be your savior that you so wish for them to be. I think that's what's happening here, is that you wish for them to be more than they really are, and they can't really be that because that's not who they are. And the terrifying abyss of what is in the image beyond the image. the unspeakable kernel of potentiality of meaning. The true focus of what we want to say that can never be fully explicated. The overflow of meaning by virtue of which every utterance says more than it means to say. Words are fucked. Anyway, I need to go pee. Our hour is up, so I can show you how I do the sourdough thingies. I don't know. Maybe it's used to hang on a wall. Hi, Texas. I'm just going to go over my finger. Hundred and 2 grams of our 3-day-old sourdough starter. Then fold in all of our grains. Another 102 grams of grains. Great. Grains and seeds, rather. Okay. We are not adding banana to this. Who's in their 20s? Do we have anyone in their 20s in the crowd? Okay, 120. Oh, okay. Cool. Wow, we have a lot of 20s. Okay. 50s. All right, 50s represent. You can always celebrate your 29th. Yeah, back in the day definitely counts. What are numbers anyway, okay? Mentally 20, I feel that. I feel like I'm mentally 48. Does that sound accurate? How old do you think I'm mentally? Yes, Gen Z, you are awesome. Thank you for being awesome. I'm 67? Damn. Okay. Jesus. I didn't know I was that old. Really making me rethink a lot of things here. No, Gen Z are younger than millennials. Millennials are Gen Y. Yeah, I love The Good Place, except I hated everything after season 2, I think. I didn't hate it, but I just lost interest. You think I'm mentally in my 30s? I feel like I'm older mentally, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I am just juvenile. Good night. Okay, think I've worked this enough. Yeah, now we'll just keep folding it throughout the night. I'll let it rest on the windowsill where it's colder overnight so it doesn't prove too much when I'm asleep. And we'll just let the baby coast on its own. In the meantime, what we should do is feed our starter to keep it alive. This jar is 195 grams. It currently weighs 208. This means that there is 13 grams in there, which means I should put in 13 grams. mix it up. Are you guys familiar with the concept of love bombing? Do you know what love bombing is? Linda, this sweater is a Old Navy fleece that I've had since middle school. Would anyone like to explain the concept of love bombing and how to identify whether or not you are being subjected to love bombing? When someone loves your shoes and you never met them? I'm glad, Alex, you were the only one who enjoyed the Zizek reading. Can anyone explain to me what the purpose of love bonding is? And the other one says when a lot of affection is given too early in the relationship, like inappropriate things for how new the relationship is. Can we define what inappropriate things are for a new relationship? I'm very curious. Because this is treading very closely to my whole idea of why certain things are taboo. It will feel too good to be true. They say all the right things, compliment all the insecurities, and do everything they can to build the psychological addiction that they then slowly remove from you. It's like showering someone with praise to make them feel good about themselves in order to manipulate them later, to keep someone submissive. I'd say the love bombing is a result of insecurity. Interesting. It builds your relationship with a narcissist so you won't leave and they don't lose their fix. To control them and fuck with their head constantly. It's about control. Loving someone so quickly. Inappropriate, such as saying I love you when you don't even know the person well at all. My understanding is they love everything you do and love everything about you and pump you up so later they can watch you fall. Wow. So the end game for them is to watch you fall. The end game for them is to see you suffer. But I also agree with Swanky Angelo. What if you really want to love someone? I think we shouldn't make generalizations like these because there are exceptions. Like, how do I separate someone who's love bombing me and someone who is really infatuated with me? It is to have you dote on them. Okay, so it's just to get my attention. Is that it? Fascinating. Often people who love bomb do it because it's what they've been taught to do. By whom? Their parents? Their end game is to turn you into them. Interesting. What? End game is to know deep personal information to manipulate and manage you. Huh. Huh. Whoa. The cause for a narcissist is usually the lack of a relationship with parents and having to learn at a young age to get what they want for themselves. Self preservation turned trauma response. Oh, wow. Mm. This is fascinating. Interesting. Okay. Wow. Okay. Very enlightening. So then, when you do realize you are being love bombed, what would you do? I'm not asking you what the right thing to do is because I think we're all going to say get out and disengage, but what if you don't want to disengage? Indulge. Red damn flag. I know it's a red damn flag, guys. I'm asking how you would actually react. Endgame is they want to eat you like a nut. That sounds kind of sexy. Um, wow. Watch YouTube for ideas from experts. The worst thing they could say early on in a relationship is, I can't live without you. Adrian has a very justified response, I think. Communicate that you feel that way and gauge the response. I don't think you'd see it as love bombing if you wanted to stay. Quite the contrary. Try to leave when things go south. If they jump on the defensive, run. If they are willing to have a conversation and work on ways to make you feel comfortable, see where it goes, but keep your eyes peeled. That seems like lovable advice. Cynthia says, you will be hurt in the end, period. Diana says, Mama need a cocktail. What if it's love at first sight? I mean, does love at first sight ever pan out? Not to be that person, but some people do move fast in relationships in, I feel, a healthy way. I think the difference between that and love bombing is that, oh, keep us on a cliffhanger, why don't you? Intense feelings are mutual. That's a good observation. I have way too many opinions and personal experience with this to express properly in a chat message. Damn, that's a tease, Jonathan. Okay. Wow. Start drinking the face. I'm not the mama who needs a drink, but we have some viewers who need a drink. But Bailey's really good. I really recommend. If they call you and sing Hooked on a Feeling, yes, unfortunately, this happened to me, block them. Thank you for sharing all these stories. It's quite delightful for me to enjoy your experiences. What made you think about love bombing? I do feel like some people lay on the sugar very heavy, and I just don't understand if it's coming from a place of good intention or hidden agendas. Can we go back to reading the Hetty book now? Wow, Linda hates this discussion. Okay. It would be cruel to get blamed as a narcissist when you're a hopeless romantic. We shouldn't head in this direction. Well, we know who the hopeless romantic in the chat is. Damn, Jonathan, that is intense, bro. That is intense. Thank you for sharing. I hope you got out of it and are healing. A relationship with the potential for roots allows space for them to grow. That space is created when you facilitate healthy conversations about your needs and wants. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna go for the night. It's been a joy and a blast to go live 3 times in a day. Will I be manic enough tomorrow to do this? Absolutely not. Will I see you tomorrow? I cannot guarantee such a thing. But for good and for bad, I do really like reading very undecipherable texts to you. But I hope you get used to being read absolute nonsense. Because I think I'll be doing more of it. And maybe we'll bake bread tomorrow. Bye.